Bethany Manctelo here. Welcome to our Millwall fan show with some new voices, but the same focus. Just everything Millwall. Enjoy!
Welcome to the 2024-25 series of Millwall No One Likes Us Talking, our Millwall fan show. I'm your host, Gary Staff, and with me I have the No One Likes Us Talking team of Dave Hart, Ted Robinson and Stan Godwin.
Not everybody likes them, but they don't care.
Welcome, everybody. How is everybody?
Evening, Gal.
Evening, Gary.
Yeah, all right, Gal. Yeah, fine.
All good, all good. Dave, start with you, mate. Saturday came and we gained a point. What was your take on the home game against Derby? I personally wasn't there. I didn't see it, so I've only watched highlights. So tell me about it, mate.
Very frustrating game for me. We never really, I don't think we have a lot of success against Derby. So I wasn't surprised the way we played. I think we gave them too much respect. They were passing the ball around us, and we looked like we were just struggling to find an out ball all the time. We were being closed down and very disjointed. I don't think there was any pattern in our play. So it was a very frustrating game. And dead ball situations like free kicks and corners, we used to be really good. A scoring rate from that was very good. At the moment, on Saturday, it was at 0. So, that is a very worrying stat to take on board. But they scored from it was a bit of a scrappy goal in my opinion, but they scored, and the best part of the game for me was when we equalised and shut their fans up. But that's football, isn't it?
Indeed it is. Indeed it is. And what a good goal it was from Mr. Invalinic.
Oh, absolutely.
Ted, last night, we managed to secure a 1-0 victory over the Mr. Rooney's Plymouth Argyle. I was there for that one. I thought we had a great start to the first half. Second half, we did enough. Should have made it 2-0. But poor Aziz just couldn't get his leg around it. What were your thoughts, mate?
Yeah, Gal. I mean, it was a typical Wayne Rooney side we played. If you look at the stats with the possession they had, but God, I'm glad we don't play football that way. I know Stan loves to keep the ball on the deck, but I can't stand it when teams seem to just keep the ball for keeping its sake. Because when you look at last night, and even with Derby, how many shots has Jensen had to save in them two games? Literally none. And at the end of the day, in both games, we had the better chances. And, I think it wouldn't have been an injustice if we'd have come away with both games with 6 points. But what was I really liked about last night in particular, SA was absolutely outstanding. Aziz looks like we've got a player there who I think just needs a bit more game time in the Championship to get up to the standard that I believe he's got in him. It's been a long time since he's played in the Championship, but he certainly seemed to be showing a few signs last night that he's worthy of being a Championship player. Ivanovic up front, or whatever his name is, the young Serbian. I'm going to have trouble all season with that gal, but he's got a presence about him. I think Macaulay Langstaff was a little bit unlucky, if I'm honest, to get drawn up. But I think I'm like a lot of people. I'd love to see the two of them play together. But I don't think that Neil will change what he does at the moment. But no, it was important win last night, Gal. That was more important than...
Interesting point you made there, Ted. Someone said earlier, and I thought, do you know what? You've hit it now on the head, mate. How many would Neil Harris have scored without the likes of Dicchio and Moody and Co next to him? I know the game's moved on, but it's a thought, isn't it?
I think, and I was saying this last night, Gal, I don't know how you put it. Now, listen, I love Honeyman. Honeyman's a workhorse. He'd run all day for you and whatever. But to me, he's like Neil Harris's first line of defence. He shuts people down up front and whatever. But what he doesn't do is he doesn't give you the creativity or the goals from that position that he's playing in. Now, lots of people think that Neil Harris is a 4-4, would like to play a 4-4-2. I'd actually like to see that. If we get Coburn back fit, what sort of problems would Coburn and Langstaff cause, or Coburn and Ivanovic calls, or Ivanovic and Langstaff, I think they would cause all sorts of problems. Like,
and then especially if you brought Bradshaw in the last 10, 15 minutes.
Well, you've got Bradshaw as well. And I just think that for me, with the players that we got, to adapt that, to get 2 up front, I wouldn't play 4-4-2. I would go 3 at the back. We got Joe Bryan, who's probably the best attacking left back, or one of them in the Championship. Maybe not great defending, but certainly going forward would be a wing back there for me. I'd bring SA inside and play him in Honeyman's position, because I think he sees a pass. He's got quick feet. The way the guys was running around last night and some of the things that he was doing, he's very, very good in tight spaces. But what he's not is a really fast, quick winger. You know what I mean? But I generally see SA inside. So I would go 3 at the back, have your two midfield players, Denori and Saville, 2 wing backs, SA in front of him, and up front I would play 2 out of the 3 of Coburn when he's fit, Langstaff and Ivanovic. George Honeyman can play a right wing back, because he does a right wing back's job in the sense of the way he runs around up and down the pitch and whatever that. But to get the 2 players up front that I think will certainly cause havoc to a lot of teams in here, I just think we'd have to move out of a back 4. But it's difficult, because at the end of the day, we ain't playing bad. We're just not having the amount of points on the board that our performances have deserved. Like I say, like Dave was saying, it wasn't the greatest game on Saturday, but to me, there was only one side that deserved to win it, and that was us. And last night, I was just so pleased that we finally got over the line, because, again, the way the game was played, yes, they had a lot of possession, but they didn't create a lot and they didn't really do a lot. But, you know, thankfully we got over the line, and it's well deserved at last. You know, we're now knocking on the playoff positions, aren't we, rather than relegation?
I think we got about 8 or 9 places last night.
Crazy division, but 1 win, and we're looking upwards rather than down. So, yeah, great last night, good win. Couldn't happen to a nicer bloke than Wayne Rooney. So.
Right, Stan, I believe you have been contacted by a reputable terrestrial broadcasting company ahead of the Derby game, who made intriguing inquiries. What's that all about?
Yeah, I mean, it was bizarre, to say the least. I mean, what happened, I was round my daughter's, as it was, looking after one of my grandkids, and all of a sudden there's a bleep on the phone. And I got this text message from some guy from BBC Derbyshire, right? And he wanted me to contact him, because he said, well, Millwall are going to be playing Derby this week, he said, and he says, you may well remember in 1994, he said, you know, Millwall played Derby at Millwall. There was a bit of a ruckus there, and we was wondering whether there still might be something that, like, see. But then he went on to say in this thing, of course, he said, we've played you since then, and you know, and the people have been there, it's all sort of gone off all okay. Anyway, so I get hold of this bloke eventually, because I'm talking to him on the phone, and he goes all through it again, and I said, well, you've lost me somewhat here. I don't understand what 1994's got to do with the game on Saturday to start off with, because both sets of players are different anyway, although we wouldn't know who the Derby players were going to be. But anyway, and I said to him, well, I don't understand why you think, or some of these people think there might be some aggravation, because the previous record doesn't prove that. But why has it suddenly become an issue now? Because then he started floundering, see, and I said to him, look, I said, I'll tell you this, I said, don't know if you've seen it, I said, but a couple of years ago, and it was on video because I've seen it, I said, Millwall was away to Derby. And it turns out that the Derby steward up there, who does after the away support, what had happened was, the next day, the guy, he was burying his wife, right? But he done the game in the night just to sort of, you know, just to get his mind off of it, you know, anyway. But what happened was, apparently he's always up until then anyway, he was always done the away supporters, and he always got on well with Millwall fans, right? And then apparently, I don't know how, but some of these Millwall fans found out what had happened to his wife, and the next day it was her funeral, and they all come down and comfort him and whatever. right? And he turned around and said in his video, because I said, it's on YouTube. I said, you'll find it. I said, and he was talking about buying them all a drink if they was going to be there tomorrow. I mean, he knew they wouldn't be, but... And I said, and that was it. And then he said, oh, right, okay. And then he said, well, I'll have to find out about this video, he said. And if that's the case, he said, or I'll get some other bloke. He said, and I'll get him to give you a bell, he said. I said, yeah, that's fine, mate. But I never heard no more. But then I didn't expect to. But when I come off the phone, I thought to myself, well, what's the point of all that?
Well,
but anyway.
Stan, it was 30 years ago and you didn't hear his rhetoric of what he wanted to talk about, so...
Well, yeah, but I couldn't... I don't understand, Gal, why, if we were playing Derby in the playoff fighter game, semi-final, all that was 30-odd years ago, I think, well, it's no relevance today. But that was... But he couldn't even claim that, could he? It was just the start of the season. No. Now, if you can word it out, I'll eat Ava Donkey. But anyway, that's what happened.
Fair enough.
And that was it. And I never did hear from the other bloke, so I thought, right, okay, fine.
You should have just said to him, Stan, as long as we don't lose, otherwise I'm going to smash your face in.
I just find it weird. I mean, somebody said to me, I think it was Eamon today, he reckons, he said, well, I'm surprised, he said, because we played Luton? No, we played Luton, haven't we, at Millwall?
Yeah, lost 1-0.
Yeah, now, I thought so. And
how can you remember 1994, Stan? You can't remember the other week when we played Luton.
Yeah, no, there you are. But obviously, because what we were saying was, Eamon said, I'm surprised they didn't ring up about that and what happened at Luton in the FA Cup and all that cobblers. I mean, you know how they go on. But because they never did. And, I just find it bizarre.
The media always put us on those, Stan, when we play Luton away, don't they? That's always chosen as a game for the TV because they're all hoping that there'll be something like that because they're after a story. That's
right.
What it is.
But the problem is we haven't got a problem with... We didn't have a problem with Luton that night. We had a problem with everything else and being penned in like Hillsborough.
Of course.
Happily.
Nobody's interested in that, though, Gal. Nobody's interested in what was said there. All they was interested in was what the pictures that went out on the BBC late at night with Millwall fans on the pitch marching some police backwards.
But the beauty of all that, right? And I mean, I don't mean beauty in the way that we know beauty, but what I'm saying is, Chris Bethel once turned around and said, I heard him, he turned around and said, when they talk about hooligans and whatever, he said, they always show that clip at Luton. Always, he said, right?
Yeah, awesome.
And yet, the irony of it all is, 3 weeks later, or 4 weeks later, Liverpool are playing Juventus in the Heysel, right? 39 Italians get killed, right? There was about 4 Scousers that had to go back and serve custodial sentences because of their involvement in it because people got killed. And yet, that's always referred to as a disaster. Time there's a programme about hooliganism on the television, that never ever gets mentioned. Never.
Because you're not allowed to upset the poor Scousers, are we? You're never allowed to upset the poor Scousers, the second religion in the country, are we?
Yeah, that's right. And I mean, and I remember the last time we got drawn against Luton in the Cup, about 5 or 6 years, it was when Kenny Jackett was in charge. The draw was made on the Sunday, and we were going down to Kent, and the very next morning, I'm listening to TalkSport. You had Alan Brazil and a bloke there from the duck. All he kept going on about was 1985. That's all he kept going on about. And yet, when Liverpool were drawn against Juventus for the first time in the Champions League, and they come up, it got 2 minutes mentioned on the national news.
I can remember when I was invited to Luton with Aisha Smith. We went there to have an interview with 2 Luton fans that were there on the night of that game, like myself. And it was done by a local radio station at Luton, and looking forward to the game at their place and reminiscing about that night of rioting. And they didn't get the response from us that they wanted to hear about the hooliganism. Yeah. We gave it to them about the number of fans that turned up, how it could have been another Hillsborough, and we completely turned it on its head, which, as you did, Stan.
Yeah.
I mean, there are 2 things about that, though, right? Danny Dye used to do a programme about football hooliganism and all that sort of thing. And he done one day about Luton, and because this thing come up about Millwall. And he was talking to the guy who was in charge of the Luton mob, right? And he turned around and said, this bloke, he said, that night, he said, we had West Ham supporters up here, we had Chelsea supporters up here, right? And all that. And in actual fact, the people that was arrested that night, when they was asked what team they supported, none of them were Millwall supporters. None of them. Right, and I'm not saying they said that but they turned out they was not Millwall supporters.
Fair enough. Right,
yeah, anyway.
Well, on that bombshell, we'll take a break and hear about our sponsors, G&M Motors.
Hi, this is Jess Tuffield from G&M Motors. Operating from a modern and purpose-built facility in Milton Road, Gravesend, G&M Motors offers a complete range of new Honda cars and services. As well as new Hondas, we have an extensive range of used cars, including ex-Motability cars from a variety of manufacturers. Specialising in new Honda cars, G&M Motors has been retailing quality new and used vehicles to the people of Kent and South East London for over 4 decades. We have been a Honda dealership since 1972 and are the country's longest serving supplier of this renowned mark. Conveniently sited just 2 miles from the A2, 10 miles from the M25 and Dartford Crossing, visitors to our showroom are assured a warm welcome from our experienced and friendly staff. Our facilities include an on-site workshop capable of providing full vehicle servicing and repairs, as well as an extensive parts department offering genuine Honda parts and accessories. The expertise of our skilled mechanics is not limited to just Hondas, but extends to most makes and models of motor vehicles. Whatever your motoring needs, visit us at G&M Motors today. The newly extended hours of our G&M headquarters means that you can contact us from 8 a.m. till 6 p.m. on weekdays and 9 a.m. till 6 p.m. on Saturdays. To contact us, call us today on 01474 365 026.
Thank you, Jess. Debbie Julian's here. Don't forget to call Jess on 01474 81 3562. G&M Motors have been dear friends with the Julians family for over 4 decades now. From my dad Lenny to me, Debbie, Lions together.
I'm your host, Gary Staff, and with me, I don't know one likes a talking team of Dave Hart, Ted Robinson and Stan Godwin. Many thanks to our sponsors, G&M Motors. Why not check out the Hondas and see what else you can get down at their Gravesend site. Our first guest is now one of the biggest names in football on the other side of the world. He played for us on 261 occasions and scored 43 goals before joining Sheffield United in a deal believed to be around £1 million. He ended his career at Crystal Palace in 2009 before heading to the other side of the world and New Zealand and signing for Wellington Phoenix, who played in Aussie's top flight. He continued playing for various clubs in New Zealand until 2023. It is, of course, the man who nearly scored the semi-final winner against Sunderland. Say hello to Paul Ifill. Hi, Paul. How you doing, mate?
Hello. Not bad. How are you?
Yeah, all good. All good. Before I hand you over to the panel, mate, on going to New Zealand, another footballing career came to the fore. Can you tell us about your journey from Wellington Phoenix to eventually ending your playing days with Christchurch United?
Yes. So, 2009 I came over. Really, after Palace offered me another year, but I was just struggling with injury. So wanted to find a league that played less. I was trying to get to the MLS, just didn't really work out. I spoke to Nick Cole, who was a teammate at Palace, and he said, "Would you fancy going to Australia?" And I said, "Well, not really, probably a little bit too far for me." And he said, "Oh, look, just speak to my agent anyway." So I spoke to his agent, who had me a deal sorted at Central Coast Mariners. So I was going to Central Coast, which is a couple of hours from Sydney, beautiful little place, and I'd sold everything at home and had a going away party and everything. And the day that I was flying out, the agent rang me and said, "Look, the deal's off." I said, "What do you mean the deal's off? The deal can't be off. We're off." And he said, "Oh, look, long story short, Central Coast Mariners are part owned by Sheffield United. Somebody at Sheffield United, a director at Sheffield United, has told them not to do the deal. that I was injury prone and liable to go missing, etc., etc. So the deal was off, and then fast forward a little while, and Wellington Phoenix come in for me. Didn't really sort of understand that New Zealand was completely different weather to Australia. But I agreed to the deal anyway. Came out, the plan was to do a year in New Zealand and then move to Australia. And I'm still here 15 years later. In that time, played, I think, 106 games for Wellington. For a time, was their all-time top scorer with 33 goals. That's been beaten over the last few years. A guy called Roy Krishna, Fijian internationals, come and beat that. I think he's on about 55 goals. It's the second top scorer of all time. Which is not too bad, not too shabby, considering I wasn't a forward. And then since then, retired in 2015 from professional football after rupture of my Achilles. Was told I wouldn't play again, and then I did manage to play again, albeit at a lesser level, and only really stopped playing last season. I was player coach for the most part up to then, and managed another probably, I don't know, 250 games after being told I wouldn't play again. So yeah, quite thankful really that I managed to keep lacing the boots up. I may well play Masters next year. I don't know. We'll see. I've just turned 45 a couple of days ago, so we'll see how we go.
What, for the Lions?
Yeah, I don't know about that. It cost them a lot of money to fly me back and forth.
Dave, you're with Paul first.
Hi, boys. Dave here.
Hi, Dave.
You've also played internationally for Barbados, and you've scored some 6 goals in 10 appearances. What was the highlight of your international career? And can you explain the circumstances on how it finished?
Yeah. I'll give you the circumstances how it started as well. So I was called up really, really early in the piece, and I was probably only about 19 at Millwall. And I wanted to go. It was, the country of my father's birth. And I was advised by the club, actually. I think it would have been Keith Stevens at the time, and Massacre, and Bob Pearson. And they basically just sat me down and said, look, it was the season, I think it was after my first season, and I'd got 11 goals and like 19 assists in League One, and they said that the England under-20s and under-21s are monitoring your sort of progress, so I wouldn't jump too soon. My retort was, look, I'm never going to play for the England first team. I knew that at that age, but they were like, yeah, but it would be pretty cool to play for England under-21s or under-20s if you make it that far. You're on an upward trajectory. So I declined the first call, and then fast forward to the FA Cup. In 2004, I got called up again for World Cup qualifiers, and I said to the club, look, I want to go. Look, I think it's pretty clear that I'm not going to be representing England anytime soon. This would be something I'd really be keen to do. So they accepted, and I went out, and we played a 2-legged tie against St Kitts and Nevis in the World Cup qualifiers. We ended up losing 1-1. Drew 1, lost 1, and that was my sort of first international for over. Fast forward a couple of years, and I was at this point at Sheffield United, and I was out of favour, and I was called up for the Caribbean Cup. Went out there, played, and that was the bulk of my international appearances. I think I played 6 games that season, and I think I scored all my 6 goals in those 6 games actually. And then I was called up for the World Cup qualifiers at the end of that against the US, and we went to LA, and we trained at the David Beckham Academy, which was pretty cool, and saw all of that when that was just sort of starting out. And we lost in LA 7-0, but I mean, they had a team, Clint Dempsey, Landon Donovan, Tim Howard, like they were pretty stacked at that point. And then we went back to Barbados, and the captain had been injured in the first game, and I was made captain. Played at home. We only lost 1-0 to the US in the return leg, and that was a pretty cool day, as much as we were already out of the tie pretty much. Probably making my debut, and then being captain of my country was a pretty cool day, and probably the highlight of my international career. And then you move on to why I stopped. I think I stopped at the age of 28. The passports back in those days for the overseas players were kept by the federation. There was 5 of us that were playing at the time, and they were put in a safe, supposedly. And then they couldn't work out how to get the safe open. And when they did get the safe open, the passports weren't in there. So they quickly got a couple of the boys their passports sorted, and mine was on obviously a slow list, and it never got fixed. And that was the end of my international career. So 6 goals, 10 games, and I wasn't seen as important enough to them to get round to sorting anyone out, really.
Super.
Paul.
Yeah, hello, Paul. It's Ted here.
Hi, Ted.
Hi, mate. That wasn't the Sheffield United director that locked that safe up, was it? Or
Yeah, I think he's had it out for me ever since. Yeah, it sounds like.
yeah, you ain't caught up with him then, Paul. You know.
I was never told who it was. I never told who it was. And the funny part of that whole story, so back in those days when you were playing, so the season started sort of September, and by the end of October, if you'd only signed a 1-year deal, you could sign for any other club in the Australian League, but you'd sign in the sort of October, November, but then you wouldn't leave until the next season. It was a really weird system. So anyway, my first couple of months, I started like a house on fire. Everything I was hitting was going in. I was goals, assists, playing really well. And Central Coast Mariners came back in for me. And I had 6 clubs in the Australian League come in for me to leave. But given that I was having such a good time and the Phoenix had sort of given me that opportunity to play, I decided to stay. And as it happened, I scored more goals in the A-League against Central Coast Mariners than any other club. So I did stick it up them a little bit afterwards.
Good. We like that. I've got to say, Paul, I'm a little bit disappointed. You're beginning to get a bit of a twang in your voice. Anyway, I wasn't going to mention it, but no,
well, you can't win because over here they always say that I sound like a Cockney. So
yeah, well,
I get stuck between by the sounds of it.
A very good friend of mine called Tommy Mason moved out of New Zealand many years ago. And if he's talking to someone else, he's a New Zealander. When he talks to me, he comes over all Cockney again. But
yeah, there you go.
Really weird.
Yeah.
But, anyway, my question is about Billy Bonds. He was a bit of a taskmaster towards you when he gave you a short straw to prove yourself in a short time or be on your way. I believe he's probably put it in a different way than I have there. But can you tell us what happened and how you remained with us and how you would describe Billy Bonds?
Yeah, but look, Billy was a good coach, like a real taskmaster. Like everybody, bar maybe the senior pros, were scared of him. I remember being in the youth team, obviously, and we were all striving for that first professional contract. And you know, back in those days, we would be in first at sort of 8 o'clock, and we'd be gone last at 5 o'clock. It was a proper, back in those days, actually, as an apprentice, it was actually a proper job. I don't think the young kids of today understand. They go in now at 10 o'clock, everything's ready for them. They get breakfast. They're gone by 12 and they're saying how difficult it is. It's completely different. But yeah, so we were in all day and you go into the gym at 4 to clean up and Billy would be in there on his own, like doing weights that you couldn't even pick up and grunting and snarling and spitting and God knows what. And yeah, he just had this, real aura about him and a real manner that you sort of tried to keep clear of him. You'd say hello if he looked at you. If he didn't, you wouldn't say hello to him. And we had what we'd call signing day and you would congregate in the car park at Calmont Road, and then you'd go up to his office, knock on the door, and he'd tell you to sit down, and then he'd tell you what was what, and you'd either sign or you'd be let go. And a few boys went up the stairs and got told they were going and come down in tears. And Timmy Cahill went up, came down. I think he'd been given a 2-year deal as a pro, was over the moon. Same with Phil Smith, maybe Joe Dolan, I think. And then it was my turn, and the rumour had been that it was going to be those three and me were getting pros. And I'd scored, I think, I was top scorer in the youth team, top scorer in the reserve, so I thought I had a good chance. And I walked up and knocked on the door, and he said, "Sit down, son." So I sat down, and he went, "How do you think you've gone this year?" And I went, I was just about to start telling him about all my goals. I went, I think I've done it. And he said, excuse my language here, but he said, I think you're a lazy little cunt. And I'm like, oh, Jesus Christ. And he went, look, we know you can put the ball in the back of the net and you're great going one way, but you got no interest in defending. We need you to work harder, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh, okay, right. And he said, look, what I'm going to do, I'm going to give you a month. You're going to go away, you're going to work hard, and in a month we'll chat again. So I'm like, Jesus, right. So thank you. Walked out of the office, and it was a bit of a weird one because all the boys were like, what's happening? You signed? I'm like, no, I've been given like a month's trial. So anyway, I ran to the payphone, rang my mum, told her what had happened. She was like, right, well, you better, knuckle down and sort your shit out. So I was like, yep. So that weekend we played away at Charlton, and there was a kid in their youth, and everybody was talking about Jermaine Defoe. We ended up, I think we drew, we might have won 4-3. It was 3-3 or 4-3. I scored a hat trick, he scored a hat trick. And then in the week, we played against Gillingham in the reserves. We won 7-0. I scored 4. A trialist called Pedro Jordao scored 3. And they got me back in, or Billy got me back in on I think it was a Thursday by that point, maybe it was a Friday. So back up to the office and sit down, son, sat down. So he said, right, well done. You've had a good week. Yes, you've obviously responded. He said, here's your contract for next year. So sign it or fuck off. So I'm like, oh Jesus! So I'm looking through the contracts. I've got no idea what a contract should look like. The only kind of contract I'd ever seen was my youth training scheme, which or leave it type jobby. So sort of fanning through, and I thought, well, I've got to pluck up the courage here to tell him that I've got an agent. So I said, oh Gaffer, look, is it all right if my agent comes in and as I look over this, that's what I've got him for. And he's like, fucking agent at your age, what have you done to deserve an agent? And I said, look, I was just sort of advised that was the way to go. He said, look, I've told you, sign the contract or fuck off. So again, I go to the page where it's got the money, and at this point I think I was on £47.50, and my new wage was going to be £90. So I'm like, right, I'm near enough doubling my money. So I thought, fuck it, get it done. It's a year's pro contract. I've made it. I'll crack on and get a new one, within the year. So I sign it, walk out, shake hands with him. Sorry, sign it, shake hands with him. Thank you. Walk out. Run to the payphone again. Ring my mum. This is the greatest day of my life. I've been dreaming of being a pro. So ring her up, mum. I've made it. I'm a pro. Like, she's over the moon for me. You can hear the emotion in her voice. She's like, oh, that's brilliant news. What did you get? I said, £90 a week. She said, oh, well done. So happy. You'll be able to start saving a bit of money. Yeah. Brilliant. She said, what about the travel that they paid for you when you were YT? So when you come back home. I said, oh yeah, that's not in there. She said, what about the digs? Where you staying? I said, oh, there was no mention of that either. So she's like, hold on a minute. So you've just gone and signed for £90. You've got nowhere to stay and you've got no travel expenses. She said, you're in a worse deal than you were as a YT. Oh. So go back to Calmont Road, run up the stairs. Gaffer, I've made a mistake. I'm on less money. Blah 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 blah. He said, that's football, son. And he sent me back out the office. So went back to my digs that was still being paid for till about the end of the month. And I was staying with Rita and Ron, Rita was the canteen lady and Ron was the groundsman. And they'd been given the nod that I was going to get a pro. So Rita had done this lovely meal and there was banners up at home, congratulations and all this shit. And I went in and I just felt sick and I was like, oh, sorry, Rita, I feel really sick. I'm going to go to bed. So didn't eat the dinner, which was terrible of me, but I felt horrific. So a couple of hours later, snuck out the back door, got a packet of Jaffa cakes, and that was my dinner for my signing day. So anyway, I go back in. I think it was the next day. Go back in, get a shout from Gritty. Gritty goes, "Oh, go up and see the gaffer." So I go up and see the gaffer again, like for the third time in three-ish days or whatever. Billy sits me down, says, "Look, we've had a look at your contract. We're going to add a place to stay. We're going to add your digs money, and we're going to add your expenses." And he said, you know the moral of the story? I said, no, what's the moral of the story? He said, don't come into my office without your agent next time. Yeah.
So he was a nice bloke then, really?
Yeah, in the end, he sorted it out. But I think it was a little bit of, it was a test probably from him. How would I react to the first part? Can you dig in and work a bit harder for me, which I proved I could. And then I think the second one was a proper mental test and see how I'd react overnight. And, was I going to throw my toys out the pram or was I just going to deal with the shit sandwich I'd been to it, which I was willing to. I don't know where I was going to stay or any of that stuff, but I would have made it work somehow.
Fantastic. Stan, over to you, mate.
Yeah, Paul, it's Stan here, mate. My memory of you playing is immense, and you were a dynamic player who made the goals and scored great goals. One earlier reference was about you being the player who could have scored the FA Cup semi-final winner. Sums you up was Cahill. People forgetting the goal, but when you had bobbled and weaved to strike the ball, how struck their keeper and fell to his feet? I mean,
yeah, it was one of those weird moments. I think, as the ball was played across, I knew that he'd underhit it, and I thought I could get there, so I ran in and nicked it. And at that point, obviously, they're playing out from the back, so they're pretty spread out. So you just think, shit, I've probably just got to beat one person maybe here, and I'm in on goal, and I remember pretending to cross it, and I sort of, the move that I did a lot, I just sort of chopped inside back onto my left foot, and as I was going through, I remember thinking, right, you've just got to hit the target, you've got to hit the target, and I think probably a bit too young to at that point to realise it. I think if I'd have been a bit older, I'd have just taken another touch, just moved the keeper a little bit, and just slid it in the corner. But in that moment, semi-final and FA Cup, I've never been at that moment. I just fucking hit it as hard as I could with my side foot and made sure I hit the target and hit him square in the chest. He didn't get his hands up in time to save it or anything. It hit him. And then in that moment, you're looking and thinking, oh, God, that's it. That could be the only chance we get in the semi. And then lo and behold, who turns up but Timmy, as he always did. And it wasn't an easy finish, by the way. Had to go through bodies. It was bouncing, and he hits it on the half volley. And it's just a fantastic finish. And then, after that, it's bedlam. And you've got that famous picture of him running kind of the length of the stand, swinging his shirt, and I'm trying to chase him. And in that moment, I pull my groin. And about 3 minutes later, I'm getting stretched off in the semi-final. So a real high and then a low, because in that moment, you're thinking, shit, even if we make it, am I going to be fit for a final?
Yeah, I mean, that was some game, that was. I mean, I remember in the second half, I was in the stand opposite the side they come out from, and I'm standing there, and I look, and all of a sudden I notice this clock. And I thought, blimey, we've been playing longer than that. It looks like we've been playing about 15 minutes. And I had to mention it to my cousin. He said, "Me, you pillock." He said, it's a clock. He said, that counts down. He said, he wasn't a normal. I thought, well, what sort of, why would you have that sort of clock at a football ground? I mean, it just seems strange to me, but. But there we are, yeah. I mean, it was some day, I have to admit, it was some day that day, some day.
Fantastic day. But I think you said about the clock, obviously I was injured, so I came back out, I was on crutches, I was watching. I don't know if it was counting down, but it certainly felt like it was moving backwards. Jesus Christ.
I 100% agree with that. 100%
it was ridiculous. And we barely had a shot, we couldn't get over half, we were getting absolutely pinned in, and I'm just, I'm trying to kick every ball and head every ball, and I can't move. I hated the feeling of not being able to influence it at all. It was horrific. So
just something just popped into my head there a moment. McManaman, was it McManaman?
Oh, McAteer.
Yeah. What was your feelings towards him after what he did to Muscat? Because he was an absolute git. Because he obviously knew they weren't going to win the game, so they were going to obviously take him out as much as you could. Because did you all want to go and kill him, or was it just?
Yeah, it was a bit of a mixed bag. Like, everybody in our team loved Muskie, but we also understood what Muskie's reputation was like and his perception, people's perception of him. And he would do whatever it took to win. And if Muskie could have done it to McAteer first, he would have. It was just this one day that it went the other way around. And I think, even Muskie was like that. Muskie sort of said, if I dish it out, at some point it's going to come back to me. And I think if you look at the times that Muskie has dished it out, it was probably fair. We were disappointed because at the end of the day, he was an absolute warrior for us. But we also understood that, when you're in the arena like he was every time, sometimes it doesn't quite go your way. But still, even given that, he still found a way to get us across the line. Do you know what I mean? So that was him.
Do you still see it more, Tim, while you're over that side of the world?
I've seen Tim a couple of times, but Timmy's off in, I think, Dubai, probably earning mega money now. So I speak to him every now and again on Twitter or on WhatsApp. Muskie, caught up with him quite a bit because I played against him when I first came out here. He was player. What was he? No, he was captain of Melbourne Victory when I first come out. And the first time I played against him, we were chatting because I was playing centre forward, he was playing centre back. And he was like, "Why didn't you call me? I'd have got you in at Victory." And I said, "I didn't want to be that guy that rings up and you go, no, not for me." So, but we caught up loads when I first come over, and then obviously I think he retired a couple of years later and he was straight into the coaching. And by that point, I was nearly finishing, so I was never going to sign for him or anything like that. And then he quickly sort of embarked on this really good run as a coach, and obviously he's in Shanghai again. He's another one earning mega bucks as well, but he's doing a really good job. He did a good job in Japan. Good job in China, and I think he'll be the next one that follows Ange Postecoglou over. I think he'll be back in England in the Championship or the Premier League within the next couple of years.
Interesting. Dave, have you got anything more for Paul?
Yeah, I'd just say, Paul, you played in two what I would rate as my favourite games for Millwall within 2 months of each other. That was the Mother's Day Massacre at the Den of West Ham and the Cup final. So, can you give us a sort of a take on those two games?
Yep, no worries. So, I mean, the first one, we understood the magnitude of it because, you know, the minute you turn up at Millwall, you're told, you know, by the fans and the staff that no matter what happens, if you beat West Ham and you beat Palace, if you get to play them, and they did let me know a little bit about Charlton, but it was Palace and West Ham. If you beat those two, it doesn't really matter where you finish in the league, the fans will forgive you. So that's kind of drummed into you. So we were having a pretty good season, but you look at that West Ham side, it was a good side. A lot of ex-Premier League players that had sort of hung around after they'd been relegated, etc., etc. Remember them having Marlon Harewood up front and Christian Daly and, you know, players on big money. But we'd had a fantastic sort of little run and we trained really well that week. And I remember all week, I don't know why, but Timmy had decided he if we got a pen, he wanted to be under. I can only assume that Chopper had maybe missed a couple, you know, in a little run and it was up for grabs. And we'd stayed behind and we practiced them like, you know, 3 or 4 days a week. That week we'd been practicing penalties. He'd been smashing them in everywhere. And go into the game, and obviously I think it was the goal that I set up for the first one and whipped it in sort of the corridor of uncertainty, as we used to call it. And Daly stuck his leg out and shinned it in. It was an unbelievable finish from Daly, and that sort of set us on our way. And then, like, we had them on toast that day. We were everybody was class, and you know, it was a really, really good feeling. And then Timmy's obviously got a double. I think they'd missed a pen. I think we'd already missed a pen by that point. I think maybe even Chopper had missed a pen in the game. And then Timmy picks up the ball for his hat trick and absolutely smashes it into the stand, which was quite funny actually at the time. You know, I think we were 4-1 up, so it didn't really make any difference to the result. And I remember laughing, thinking, bloody hell, he must have hit 100 penalties this week and he's barely missed one. And then he comes to the game to get his first professional hat trick.
He sat on the ball, didn't he?
He sat on the ball before because there was something going on and they weren't sure whether it was given or. It took ages. It took absolutely ages. I think he had a million different things going through his mind. And in training, he'd been putting it in a certain spot. And then rather than doing that, he stood up, placed the ball, ran up to it and just walloped it as hard as he could. And it just skewed off his foot and hit the stand. And
yeah.
He had a big smile on his face. I had a smile on my face because, you know, only us two knew how many penalties he'd taken that week. So quite funny. But, yeah, magnificent day. It was a cracker. And then, yeah, you know, you wouldn't have known at the time that we were going to make a cup final. Do you know what I mean? So then you duly do. And what a day out that was. I think Ray and Wisey had done a really good job of not sort of talking them up too much and painting them as human. And you know, as much as we knew it was going to be, you know, one chance out of 100, we did believe we could get something that day. And the plan was to get in at half-time 0-0 and then have a right go in the second half. And I still think even if we'd have got in at 0-0, we'd have got beat. They just had too much quality. But, you know, you get to 44 minutes and you're dreaming of something crazy happening. And then obviously a young Cristiano nods in the first one. And then there was murders at half-time about arguing over whose man it was and whether Wisey should have fucking headed it or whether Neil should have dealt with it. And I was just sat there quietly thinking, well, actually, Ronaldo was my man, so I should have fucking dealt with it. But there you go. I didn't let them onto that one. And then we went out second half and let in two more. And Van Nistelrooy grabbed them both. And if it was in the days of VAR, they both would have been disallowed. The penalty, Livers gets the ball first pretty clearly, and the other one was offside. But that was Van Nistelrooy. He lived offside, and he'd always pop just back onside just at the right time. But he got it wrong on this day, and it still stood. So 3-0 it ended, and that was that. But again, fantastic day. I had friends and family come down to Cardiff from Brighton on a coach, like 50 of them. Just a magnificent day. They still talk about sort of their journey that day. You know, they stopped and ended up playing football against other Millwall fans, and they're not necessarily Millwall supporters. My mates, just mates from home, but they still talk about Millwall to this day because of that day. So that's pretty cool.
Excellent. Ted, over to you, mate.
I was just thinking, Paul, you need to have a word with Robbie Ryan, because when we've spoken to him, he said he was that dizzy from being turned inside out by Ronaldo that he didn't know where he was at that corner. So to find out it was you that should have been marking him, you might be a relief to him, to be quite honest.
Yeah, he had the toughest task of the day, Robbie. Bloody hell.
Bless him, he did. But who'd have thought then that boy would go on to be what he's been? It's unbelievable.
Oh, no, look, no, people have asked me that, and I said, no chance. I said, look, you know, everybody's, it must have been so exciting playing Ronaldo. And I said, I didn't care about playing Ronaldo. I said I cared about playing against Giggs and Roy Keane and Paul Scholes and people like that. You know, he was just a young Portuguese lad. We didn't know anything of him. To see what he's gone on to do is actually ridiculous.
Been unbelievable, yeah. I just want to change it, like we've heard from former Lion Wesley Reid about his friend Paul Merson, both hearing in a BBC documentary featuring Wes and Paul about their gambling addiction. Paul, I know it's a thing, but I understand you've had a bit of a problem with it. Is that right?
Yeah, for years, probably from 17 to 30. What am I now? Hold on, 38.
Well, I don't know how you've done that on 90 quid a week.
Yeah, it started slow. But picked up pretty quickly, to be honest. I've not had a bet for coming up 7 years. It's 7 years on the 7th of November. I've been off it, but
well done, you.
Yeah, it was a rough time. I think the issue is when you're playing, and I look back, you know, even my time at Millwall, I would have been on, you know, I don't know, £4,000 a week. I'd had no responsibilities per se. I drove a little Peugeot 206. So I needed petrol for that. I needed to pay for my food. I needed a few clothes, and then you've got all this money, and you don't get taught how to look after it at school. You're sort of chucked out there. You're on your YT, and then suddenly you're earning £90, and then you're earning 180, then you're on 500, then you're on 1,800, then you're on $4,000, and you still don't know how to look after your money. And every man and his dog has got an idea on where you should put it and what you should do with it. And then your mate says to you, do you fancy a horse bet? And I'm like, fuck, horse racing is the most boring sport in the world. No, thank you. And he's like, no, it's boring because you've never had a bet on it. He said, I've got a tip. So back the bloody horse, didn't I? And it wins. And this was my year in the youth team, actually, when I was on bugger all money, on YTS money. So I put £20 on and won 90. And that was it. I was in, you know, I was like, 2 weeks' wages I've just won there in one fell swoop. And that was it. Slippery slope from there. Then it was casinos, it was sports betting, it was anything. And I for the next nearly 20 years, would have, I'd have bet in some way, shape or form every single day. I remember some Christmases looking, going online and looking for, because of the time differences in different parts of the world, you can always find a bet somewhere. And I'd be betting on Christmas morning, put an accumulator on, and then, have your Christmas dinner, and then check your accumulator. And that's how it went. And I was in the bookies. If I wasn't in the bookies, I was online. If I wasn't online, I was in the casino. And that just rolled around every day. And I just sort of, you kind of feel invincible because you're earning good money and you haven't got to worry about it. And if you do run out of money, there's always somebody that's going to lend it to you because your teammates know that you earn good money. You can go to the bank and show them your contract and they're going to give you money. So it was just too easy. We had too much time, too much money, not enough responsibilities. And it was only when I kind of settled down that things started changing a little bit. I had my eldest, Romy, and my wife and my girlfriend, she was at the time, kind of sat me down and said, look, if it's us or the gambling. And I said, look, it's my money. I'm going to do what I want with it. And we split up. We did end up getting back together. We're still together now, we've been together 20 years. But it took her really sort of standing by my side and helping out and looking out for me and trying to stop me. And then lo and behold, you fast forward, I don't know, sort of 15 years from that point, and I'd retired by this point and I'm still gambling. And I'd actually been invited by a friend of mine who started working in rugby over here, and obviously rugby's massive over here, and he got me going into rugby clubs, professional rugby clubs, talking about my story. And I just really, really enjoyed doing it. It felt pretty therapeutic. So that kind of took off, and I was invited to speak to, over here in all the super rugby clubs, so like your Crusaders and your Hurricanes, all your big teams, they've got professional development officers that look after the players sort of on and off the pitch. And I was invited to speak in front of all of them on behalf of the All Blacks, which was pretty cool. So I went and did that.
Oh,
and a guy, one of those professional development officers pulled me afterwards, and he'd already heard my story at the Hurricanes. And he said, Paul, I love your story. He said, it's so honest and candid. He said, but you're still gambling, aren't you? I said, yeah, I am. I said, I'll probably finish this and I'll probably be straight in the bookies. He said, your story's so powerful. He said, imagine how powerful it would be if at the end you could say, this is how many days I've been off it. He said, I want to meet your wife. She sounds like an amazing person. I said, yeah, amazing or stupid. He said, nah, to stick by your side for all these years and try and get you off it, you're an amazing person. He said, just have a think about what it does to her and your daughters. And I was like, yeah. He said, look, buy some flowers on the way home and have a proper think about it. And I said, if I buy her flowers, she's going to think I've either been gambling or cheating. And I said, I think I'd rather that she was thinking I was cheating than the gambling. She'd go mad. So drove home, picked up the flowers, took her home, walked in through the door, give her the flowers. She said, what have you done? I said, no, I've done nothing. I told her the story. And I said, look, I'm gonna stop gambling. And she just burst out laughing. You know, I told her I was going to stop gambling 1,000 times. And I said, look, I can't even explain. And as I'm telling her this, my hair's standing on end. I said, I can't even explain why. But I said the words that came out of Steve's mouth were just, it was the right thing to say at the right time. And I know I'm never going to gamble again. And she went, look, I'll support you, but you've got to be honest with me. If you ever fall off the wagon, you've got to tell me straight away and not hide it. And I said, yeah. And the first 3 months were fucking ridiculously hard. And them fuckers in, you know, your Ladbrokes and all those bloody vultures, they were sending me free money online to try and get me back in. But I deactivated all my accounts and got rid of it. I told all my mates what I was doing so that they knew not to even bother inviting me to a horse meeting or anything like that. And yeah, you know, the rest is history. It's, like I said, it's 7 years on the 7th of November. So tracking pretty well.
Well done, you, Paul. You should pat yourself on the back, mate. It's that's a wonderful story and well done. And you've got a 1 in a million with your wife there, without a doubt.
Yeah, thank you.
I wish you'd had a word with my wife.
Oh dear. Right, Paul, what a story. I read with interest that you took Christchurch United and Wellington Olympic as their manager to the finals of the prestigious Chatham Cup and won both times. The latest in September. Congratulations, by the way. Can you tell us about those achievements and your reference about Alf Ramsey in September?
Yeah, so I suppose a long story short, but the Chatham Cup is exact replica of the FA Cup in terms of the trophy. I think it's insured for about $120,000 is currently in our club rooms at the moment, but it's very prestigious over here. You know, that's every single team in the country gets to play in it at whatever level, and then you go all the way through to the final. And when I went down to Christchurch, we were a pretty unfancied sort of team. We hadn't won the league in 30 years. We hadn't won the cup in 30 years. Sort of historical club that used to do well many years ago, but was sort of trying to get back. And the first year we went in there and we won the league, which was brilliant. And then the following year, we just embarked on a decent cup run, and you sort of get to the quarterfinals and it opens up. So you play sort of in your own region, and then it opens up in the quarterfinals and you can go anywhere. And we went up the country to Hamilton, so a different league, a team that would probably fancy to beat us, and we managed to turn them over 4-0 in a really good performance. And then semi-final, we played a team called Eastern Suburbs, who at that point were in the Northern League, so up in Auckland, and they were unbeaten. And we had them at home, and we turned them over at home in a real tough game. And then you go through, and we were playing Melville, who were also pretty unfancied. They'd won the cup a few years before once. I think they'd been in the final once. And we were 2-0 up, and we were cruising. I remember it's a funny game because it was like, so nice to get to a cup final, but we're 2-0 up, and honestly, it was so easy. And I shouldn't have thought it, but I thought, bloody hell, this final needs a bit of drama. Anyway, we're going at 2-0, half time. You know, chat to the lads and explain what we need for the second half. We go out and we just fall apart, and they score, and then we're hanging in there. We are getting absolutely pummeled, and in the 97th minute, we give away a free kick. Yeah, goalkeeper goes up, and it's such a surreal moment because as he's going up, I'm just like, holy shit! Like I can just feel this is not going to go our way. Anyway, the ball bounces in and around the box, and he volleys it home 2-2. So we go to extra time. We were very good in extra time, as it happens, and I thought we'd win it. We hit the post, and we were all over them. They couldn't get out, and we just couldn't score. Then it goes to pens, and we'd been practicing pens, but I didn't have too many people who fancied pens. And I said to the boys, I said, look, who fancies a pen? And 2 people put their hand up, and I said, look, we need 5, and the referee's trying to get us in to go. So I managed to get to 4. And then I said, look, we need someone to take the 5th pen, which is, you know, one of the most important ones. And a young fella who come on off the bench for us that day, 16 years old, put his hand up. And I'm like, look, if you fancy it, take it. So anyway, walk back, penalties go, they miss their first, we score, goes back and forth, then they miss again. It gets to the 5th pen now. The 5th pen is, we score it, we win it. And I'm thinking, Jesus Christ, the young lad's going to have to step up. And then I look up and my captain's striding towards the penalty spot. And I'm like, he doesn't like taking penalties at all. He missed his last one. And and he puts it down. He hits a horrible penalty down the middle, and thank goodness the goalkeeper dives and just misses it. And that was the first Chatham Cup in the bag. Fast forward to this year, I moved clubs to Wellington Olympic, which is the current national champions. So we kind of expected to have a decent run in the cup, but hadn't won it for 15 years. And we again embarked on a really decent run. Felt like we should win it. Julie made the final against Auckland City, with arguably the biggest and most prestigious club in the country. Again, 1-0 up, seconds to go, and a 94th minute equaliser. So I've been on the back of a 97th and 94th minute equaliser. Went to extra time. We did okay in extra time. Then it goes to pens, and different message this time. But the boys, stuck with it, and we tucked away all our pens, and then we just needed our keeper to come up big and save one. So he duly saves one, and we steam onto the pitch, and second Chatham Cup for me, an amazing moment. And then there's a whistle, and you're like, what's going on? And our keeper had moved off his line.
Oh.
They made him retake it, and then the keeper saved it again. So we were on the pitch, and it was pretty cool. Like, you don't try and I'm a pretty humble guy, so I wasn't trying to talk too much about 2 Chatham Cups. It was more about, our Chatham Cup, our first Chatham Cup for Olympic in 15 years. And it was a really nice moment. And then sort of, as the days go by, then there's a few journalists want to talk about 2 Chatham Cups in a row. And that was a pretty cool moment for me and my assistant who joined me from Christchurch. So we've done it over the last 3 years together.
Fantastic work, Paul. Fantastic. What a great footballing life you've had. We are still waiting for a book. Is that on the horizon?
So am I. Look, it's the final draft is done. It's me being a lazy fucker. Yeah, it's me being a lazy fucker. Billy Bonds was right. I am a lazy bastard. So, long story short, I need to go back and just edit a few bits myself, and it can't be done by anybody else. And it's just a case of me sitting down and actually getting that done. It won't take too long once I've done that. So I would imagine end of this year, start of next year at the latest, because like I said, we're finished. We've decided to put a cap on it. What happened over the last couple of years with the Chatham Cup, we kind of thought, shit, we need to add that in. Mm-hmm. So we've finished that. We've just got to edit some of the bits, because we started it sort of 7-8 years ago. I talk about some things in there that are not relevant. Like, for instance, I talk about my mum living in England. Well, she moved out to New Zealand within those last 8 years. Do you know what I mean? So it's just sort of dotting the I's, crossing the T's, and then it should be out. So I'm going to speak to, once it is out, I'm going to speak to Millwall and see if they'll put it in the club shop, and see if we can get it out to a few boys over there with a bit of luck.
I'm sure they will. We'll definitely be reading it over here. Ted,
thank you.
Over to you with the predictions for the weekend.
Yeah, right. Well, it's a prediction league, and we have the panel, yourselves, the host. They tell me there's a prize at the end of it, Paul, but I don't know what it is. But who knows? But this week we've got
Ted.
Thought you would know that, Ted. Well, yeah, maybe. Let's see. The first game that I've gone for is obviously the beloved Lions, and it's they're at home to. They're away to Swansea City. I should know that because I'm going, so there's no point in me going to the Den if they're at Swansea. And I've gone for a 2-1 win to Millwall. What do you reckon, Paul?
I think a 1-1 draw.
No, think again, Paul. No, all right. 1-1 draw. Fair enough, mate. Fair enough. The second game I've gone for, Paul, is a tricky one because it's Coventry and Luton, and they've started really poorly this season. 2 of the best teams that. I know Luton came down, but you would have thought they'd been back up there. But yeah, Coventry at home to Luton.
Yeah, look, tough one. I'm the same. I liked Coventry last year, liked how they played, and obviously Luton had a good shake of trying to stay in the Prem, so that is a difficult one. Luton are probably in better form, but I think Coventry at home, they've got to start winning if they're going to stay in the league. So I'll say Coventry 1-0.
And it's a bit strange with Coventry, but last but not least, we've got West Brom at home to Cardiff. Cardiff all of a sudden have become the team to beat, the way they've been playing, and West Brom has sort of stuttered a little bit. But how do you see that one going, Paul?
I think West Brom will get back to business. I do think Cardiff have turned the corner, but I think West Brom, had a really good start to the season. They don't let in many as well. So Cardiff do let in a few. I know that, like they said, they have sharpened up a little bit lately, but I think, again, West Brom in a tight one, 2-1.
Lovely. Thank you very much, Paul.
No worries.
Paul, I think we could have carried on for another couple of hours there, but absolutely brilliant. So I'm sitting here thinking I could ask him that, but we got to get you back on, mate, because there's things I want to know about Wisey, I want to know about Wilkins, I want to know what I like walking out to Old Trafford, all stuff like that. But we'll have to save that.
He's a good boy, Gal. We can let him plug his book.
Yeah. There you go.
Okay.
There you
I like that.
But Paul, in the meantime, look, keep you and your family well. Keep up the good work on the addiction, and mate, we'll catch up soon. And thank you so much for joining the show.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers, Paul. Thank you.
Cheers, Paul.
Cheers, Paul. Thanks for talking to us.
No worries. Anytime. Thanks, chaps.
Cheers. We'll take a break there and hear from Paul at Fisher FC.
Hi, I'm Paul, a Millwall and Fisher FC supporter. There's always been strong links between our clubs, and as such, Fisher FC would like to remind Millwall season ticket holders and supporters club members that entry to watch Fisher is just a fiver if you show your card at the gate.
I'm your host, Gary Staff, and with me I have the No One Likes Us Talking team of Dave Hart, Ted Robinson and Stan Godwin. Not going to Swansea? Then head over to St Paul's Sports Ground in Rotherhithe if you need a live football fix. Now let's hear from Ellis Barr. Please keep us updated, Ellis, on everything you do.
Hello, Ellis here, and I'm glad to be back talking about Millwall. I know many have watched my videos. Thanks for your support along the way. It is now time to hear what all the Millwall teams are up to. Come on, Millwall!
Always great to hear from you, Ellis, and keep up the great work. Paul Loding brings us the weekly Romans and Pride update.
Hi, it's Paul Loding at the Millwall Romans with a quick update. The Romans team travelled to southwest London to play Barnstormers in the LUL Cup first round. Barnstormers do play in the division below. They do have another team that plays, so we wasn't sure what type of team were turning up. But we went out all guns blazing despite having trouble finding the pitch. Having probably the first 15 to 20 minutes, all the possession, many chances, but didn't manage to net any. There were a few times where we thought it was going to be one of those days, but we managed to get a few goals in before half-time. I think we went in half-time with 3-0 up. The second half, we just dominated from start to finish, to be honest. We started knocking the ball around a lot nice, trying a couple of new players that have been over to training as well, who came on really well, and ended up finishing the game 11-0. A couple of mentions to Richard Nichols scoring 4 and AJ Davis netting a hat-trick. This weekend, both teams back in action. Romans at home to Stonewall and Pride away to Stonewall at the West Ham Rugby Club. So Romans at home, it's going to be a 1 o'clock kickoff at St Paul's. Predictions-wise, I'm going to say Millwall are going to nick that 1-0 against Swansea. I'm going to say Luton are going to nick that 1-0. And West Brom Cardiff, I think, I'll say... Yeah, West Brom 2-1.
Thanks, Paul. This is a great result for the Romans. When Paul told us he was going away for 10 weeks, we thought he must have struck gold. Later, he declared it was a typo. It should have been 10 days. The result must have gone to his head. Next up is Jeff Burnige, who updates us on the Millwall Lionesses.
On Maritime Radio, so Millwall Lionesses headed to New Haven for the first time to face newly promoted New Haven women on Sunday. Jeff Burnige was there to pick up the story for us.
Millwall Lionesses made it 4 games unbeaten in the London and South East Regional League with a 1-0 victory at New Haven FC's Fort Road ground. For this match, assistant manager Jack Wisson was in charge in the absence abroad of manager Ted Jones, and he had to endure a match on the stormy south coast which the Lionesses should have won far more easily. They controlled proceedings throughout, had 2 goals unfortunately disallowed and missed several good chances. In fact, it took an 88th minute goal from Ella Bailey to claim the 3 points. Kira Watling's thunderous free kick on 26 minutes had been ruled out because the goalkeeper's line of sight was apparently restricted by a Millwall player who was given offside. Centre-forward Lucy Gillett had scored minutes earlier, but on this occasion a linesman ruled that the cross had been delivered from fractionally over the goal line. This was disputed. The Newham keeper was having an excellent day and made good saves from Mia Lockett and Grace Seeley. When the keeper was beaten, Sophie Chapman and Lucy Gillett both saw headers cleared off the line. Then, in the 70th minute, Kira Watling saw her bullet header brilliantly saved, and it began to look as though Millwall might have to settle unbelievably for a draw. Then came Ella Bailey's late intervention with the late winner. Next Sunday, the Lionesses travel to Sussex again, on this occasion to face Haywards Heath Town at their Hanbury Park Stadium.
Thanks very much, Jeff. It sounds like the Lionesses are on a roll. Can they make it 3 wins on the road at Haywards Heath next Sunday? Let's be hopeful, and we'll hear more from Jeff next week. Right now, back to your music. Here's Kings of Leon.
We will hear from Lioness Mia Lockett shortly, and I won't steal her thunder. Let us look forward to this Sunday's game against Haywards Heath in the league. Well, the first team depart for Wales on Saturday to face Swansea. Swansea boss Luke Williams is not impressed with their current form. After another goalless draw against Sheffield Wednesday, it's been over 435 minutes, just over 7 hours since Ben Cabango scored Swansea's last goal, which came in the 1-1 draw with Bristol City nearly a month ago. This is the worst goal drought Swansea have gone through since they went 492 minutes without scoring under Steve Cooper back in 2021. Ironically, the Swans ended that run by sweeping aside Saturday's visitors to Swansea.com Stadium, Millwall, in a 3-0 win. Few would be too confident of a repeat this time, but Williams has to find a solution soon if October's Swansea Goal of the Month contest is to go ahead. Of course, there's frustration over not scoring because you cannot win without scoring a goal, Williams said, after the latest blank at Hillsborough. But I am backing the players in the squad to start finding the net soon. We have a lot of positives on our performances, but of course we have to start scoring more goals. Hearing that, the bookies have the Lions at 9-5 to win, a draw at 9-4, and a Swans win is 6-4. Over to you, Ted.
Oh, I was full of beans until I heard that. I didn't realise they hadn't scored in so long.
No.
Oh, yeah, that's a recipe for disaster for Millwall, isn't it? With our last visit to Wales going the way that it did with Cardiff. But anyway, I have predicted that Swansea will score. They'll get 1, but we'll get 2. So don't forget, when your predictions, lads, you can't take the 2-1 scoreline that I've got. So off to yourself, Dave. What do you reckon it'll be on Saturday?
Well, like you said, it's going to be a tight game. And I think their goal drought's going to continue because I think we're going to win. Millwall going to win 1-0.
1-0 to Dave. Stanley, what do you reckon?
I think Millwall will win 2-0.
2-0. All going well. What about you, Gal? You must give Swansea a goal after that long.
3-1.
3-1. Lovely. Well done. That's what I like to see. Right, the remaining predictions, I've gone for a tricky one for me. Coventry versus Luton. Coventry and Luton both been a bit disappointing this year, but Luton were really unlucky the other night in their game. And Coventry, I just can't believe that team from last year's playing as they are. So what do you think of this one, Dave?
Well, it's going to be a draw, 1-1.
1-1 for Dave. I shouldn't say I predict that. I've got a prediction that Coventry are going to win 2-1, by the way. Stanley?
I'd go for a 2-2 draw.
2-2 draw. Not a bad shout, that, you know. Gal, what do you reckon?
Stan's nicked me Desmond.
Is he?
Yeah. I'm going to go for a high-scoring game. I'm going to go 3-2 to Coventry.
Oh, that sounds like a big game I'd like to be at as it goes. The last one, again, another tricky one, because West Brom, although one of the better sides in the division, have stalled a little bit lately, and whereas Cardiff have come from nowhere to being a side you don't really want to be playing at the moment. But I have stuck with the Baggies. I've gone for a 2-1 to West Brom. What do you reckon, Dave?
I'm going to go a bit bigger. I have 3-1 to West Brom.
3-1 West Brom. Stanley, what do you reckon?
Oh, I reckon it'll be probably be a 1-1 draw.
1-1 draw. Gal?
I'm going to go for is it the Boing Boing Baggies?
Boing Boing Baggies, yeah?
Yeah. 3-0.
3-0. Cardiff falling off their pedestal, after a 5-0 win or whatever it was they had the other day. And, but, not a bad shout.
Which is probably the worst result that could have happened to us on Wednesday night.
Yeah, very true.
Thank you for that, Ted. Lastly, we have the predictions from Nick of the Millwall Sicily Facebook site.
Hi guys, this is Nick Wythe and these are my predictions. Swansea 0, Millwall 1. Coventry 1, Luton 1. And West Brom 2, Cardiff 1. There's a message for Ted. Ted, I know you normally sleep with your wallet under your mattress, mate, but you're not going to be able to keep it far from me. I was off to a slow start with the predictions, but I'm coming up on the rails really fast. So you better start finding a better hiding place for it, all right? Thanks very much. Bye.
Has he got I'll have to check my bedroom for a camera somewhere. I don't know how he see that. I don't know Nick, I don't know how you've done that, but you're right. Very true.
Oh dear, thanks for that, Nick. Finally, thanks to Dave Hart, who collates all the results for us. Well, that was fun. With the added handicap of not being able to make the scores the same, it adds a little bit of extra fun in there. Now it's time for Phil Coleman's Towels from the Boot Room.
Hi everyone, Phil Coleman here again with a few more tales from my time at the club. I'm going to talk about players that I played with as an apprentice and then when I signed pro who were not in the youth team. They were first team players. So many, this might take a few sessions for me to cover them all. First up is the club legend Billy Neal. Yes, he's got a suite named after him, but Billy's done every job at the club in 50 odd years his association with the club. He was my first ever coach as a professional. He used to take the schoolboys, so I was 14, 15 years old, and then he took me into the youth team when I was about 16, still at school, and he sorted out my expenses and played me in the youth team at a young age. So I owe Billy Neal an awful lot in the formative years. And then when you get into the club, I'm an apprentice, I'm cleaning the boots, doing the kit, forking the pitch, scrubbing the change rooms, scrubbing the bath out. But in that first team change room, there were some absolute quality characters, big players, but none bigger than Barry Kitchener. Everybody knows the name Barry Kitchener. It's on the stand as you go into the new den. But to play alongside Kitch in training, against him in training, and he was the centre-back who I played next to on my debut. And on the 14th of May 1979, Kitch is number 5, I'm number 6, and we beat West Ham 2-1. But Kitch was a leader. And I'll give you an example of that. In that debut of mine, after about 65 minutes, Kitch has gone down on the edge of the area. And I've run over to him, how you doing, big man? And he basically said, F off, I'm having a breather and killing the game. So even in 1979, the big man was up to those tricks and he was making sure that he took the sting out of West Ham's momentum. Right back that day, another great player, Dave Donaldson. I think Dave played hundreds of games for Millwall, rarely gets a mention, but Dave was stalwart through the 70s. And again, he supported me. I had Dave Donaldson on my right side, Kitch on my left. And at left back was David Gregory. And he came in as a young player and he replaced John Moore. And again, John was a bit like Dave Donaldson. Quality left back, big, strong, got up and down the left-hand side. So I was fortunate to have those three top pros in and around me as defenders. And a bit later on, Tony Hazel came in. And I think Tony Hazel preferred his golf more than his football, but he also put it on us youngsters. I mean, if his boots, you couldn't see his face in his boots, he reported you to Gordon Jago and Theo Foley. So Tony kept us youngsters on our toes. He demanded standards from the apprentices, and but he always had his golf clubs in the car, and pre-season training over at Richardson Evans. Any lunchtime or afternoon, he'd get the golf clubs out and the ball, and he'd be chipping the ball away. And behind us in them days were two goalkeepers, Ray Goddard, God bless him, and Nicky Johns. Little story about Ray Goddard. He used to have this little sticky substance that was a bit like today's Ralgex or Algipan, and it warmed your legs up. And he used to just smear some of this Algipan on the inside of the goalposts. He never wore gloves, but he just took a little bit of it, rubbed it on his palms, and the ball stuck. So Ray didn't have gloves, as I said. He just used Algipan, and he made sure that that worked for him. And Nicky Johns, brilliant character. Still see Nicky around Dockers days, and he comes up to the ground with his grandkids from time to time. Great young goalkeeper. Went on to play for Charlton, but I think Nicky's the only guy that when we used to train at Peak Freens on the A20, I think he's the only player that ever hit the post as we drive into the car park. And I think he had a Capri at the time and pranged the post as we walked in. But great goalkeepers, they worked hard behind you, and those characters, I certainly looked up to them, and to have trained and played beside those defenders in them days was absolutely brilliant. So I think that's it for now, but I'm going to mention a few more senior pros as we go on in the next couple of shows. So hopefully you enjoyed that. Catch up soon. Bye for now.
Thanks, Phil, and we will take a break there and hear from Bethany Manxelo.
We know that some men can struggle to talk about how they're feeling after the death of a baby. We hope that by building trust and a common bond, by playing together as a team, many more will be able to break their silence about baby loss and help others to do the same. Stand United FC has already saved the lives of men left feeling like they had no one to turn to in their grief. Are you a father who has lost a child? Talk to Stand United. They will help. Contact them on sufclondon@gmail.com. That's sufclondon@gmail.com. They will help.
I'm your host, Gary Staff, and with me I have the No One Likes a Talking team of Dave Hart, Ted Robinson and Stan Godwin. Stand United makes a difference, and they can help bereaved fathers. Our second guest is new to the show. She has a tremendous footballing pedigree and is one of our sponsored Millwall Lionesses. Let's say a big hello to Mia Lockett.
Evening, Mia.
Evening.
Evening, Mia.
Hi.
Mia, it's great to have you join us. But before I hand you over to the panel, can you share how football eventually became your game and your route through many clubs to Millwall this summer?
Yeah, cool. So firstly, thank you for having me on the show.
Pleasure.
So yeah, I'm basically a bit of a background of me and my footballing profile. I've been playing football since I was 10 years old. I started off at Crystal Palace and then went on to have a spurt at Tottenham Hotspur. And then, yeah, kind of just went on from there and wanted to get into senior football. So my route to Millwall, where I am now, it happened from obviously just kind of being around Millwall all the time. I played obviously the Lionesses a few times at previous clubs I was at. And I actually knew the previous manager, Adam Rowland, so that's how I got basically talking to him before my transfer happened in the summer. So yeah, it's kind of being around the club and knowing what they were about before I actually joined, but obviously was a massive benefit on my behalf. And I also knew a few of the girls, which again was quite reassuring, and it was definitely a massive factor to come over. And I just felt welcome from day one. So I'm really happy that the transfer did go ahead, and here I am now, yeah, loving my football again.
Excellent. And is football part of the Lockett family?
Oh yeah, you know what? I don't know what we would do without football. I've got 3 older brothers, so I'm the youngest and the only girl. And to two of my older brothers, they love football. My brother Ben Lockett represented England when he was younger.
Oh, wow.
Played for Bromley FC. And my dad, he's a massive Nottingham Forest supporter. So I'm not quite sure why. but yeah, he has a really good profile, CV of coaching. He used to coach me at Palace, was really successful at Palace, and used to coach my brother Ben at Glebe when he was younger as well. So yeah, it definitely runs in the family, 100%.
Excellent. Dave, I'll hand over to you first, mate.
Hi, Mia, it's Dave here.
Hiya.
That was a well-earned result at New Haven on Sunday. You even had the ball in the net, I think, but it was ruled out. It's now 2 back-to-back wins on the road. Tell us about the game and the feeling in the camp after the game.
Yeah, I mean, I think as a whole and as a unit, we did believe, and we did say at half-time, that we do believe we can perform a bit better. It definitely wasn't one of our strongest performances. However, we stuck together and we ended up grinding out a result. I think it's showing that the ability of the girls and the ability in our squad to set the standards high. It's now, well, we need to be consistent with results, which is now coming. We knew that if we stuck together, this would start to happen. And it was a hard game. I mean, going away and on a long journey, when you're on the road, it's a long day. There's no excuses, but the weather was terrible. Those of you who were there, you would know that. But like I said, we stuck together and we got the result. And I mean, the mood in the camp is, like I said, is really good. I think we're all buzzing, and we're just all buzzing to be playing football together. We're all mates off the field, so that obviously that helps on the pitch now. And yeah, we're a really close unit, and the girls were just going strength from strength. And I think other teams are now looking at us in the league, thinking we are a real threat. To compared to our first game, comparing us to now, I think we can turn up to anyone's pitch and just play our football and enjoy it. So yeah, the mood in the camp's really good, Dave. And yeah, it's one of those where we just stick together and we carry on, and I think the results have continued to go our way.
That's great news.
Hi, I'm here, Ted here.
Hiya.
I'm loving your story because it feels to me, and I'm sure it does you, that you feel cleansed in a football sense, because you started out at Crystal Palace, you see the light eventually and finished up at Millwall. So we all thank you for that, because it's no good playing for Crystal Palace. They're rubbish. It's great to see that you've seen the light. But I understand also, Mia, that you're into coaching as well. What drew you to that? And what does it do for you? Do you get something else out of that? And what's your longer-term ambition beyond playing?
Yeah, I mean, coaching. I've been coaching since a young age. So I actually, obviously, when I left school, I'd done my post-16 education at Bromley FC. And Bromley offered me an amazing pathway. So they basically took me under their wing. I was 17 years old, and they said, we want you to be involved with our girls' academy, which I just obviously graduated from the coaching point of view. Something which was completely new to me. And it's probably one of the best decisions I've made to date, because I feel like it didn't only help the girls having someone they can relate to from a similar age, obviously a female figure in the setup, but it helped me develop as a person. So I think coaching for me is something which I would really like to develop. I want to go on to do obviously like my level 2 and go on. My dad, like I said, he was a massive role model in coaching for me. He's gone on to get his UEFA B. So I think it's definitely something I would like to continue, and I've even had conversations with the youth setup down at Millwall just to get involved with obviously the younger girls. So it gives me kind of that buzz off the pitch, and to know that I'm giving back to the younger players and having that role model who I had when I was their age to look up to. One of them being, for example, Kira Watlin, at the time Kira Sherwood at Crystal Palace, who I'm now unfortunate enough to share the pitch with. It just shows that football's a small world, and obviously the players who were coaching you, they can be your teammate next season. So, yeah, it really does. It gives me kind of a drive off the pitch. And I think my long-term goal would, from a football point of view, just to continue playing to the highest level I can. I do strongly believe Millwall Lionesses, they used to be obviously a championship club, a WSL club at one stage. So I think we will start to climb the table again. We'll start to climb, obviously, the football pyramid. And personally, my long term is to continue to enjoy my football down at Millwall. And from a coaching point of view, any opportunity, just kind of just embrace it and take it and really develop my coaching skills. And like I said, hopefully get badges in the near future.
Mia, you don't actually coach a team, man. You just coach girls. Is it from a team that you coach? Or I mean, I'm interested because my granddaughter, she's 12, she's playing football at the moment, and I've really got into the women's football in the last year and a bit. It's and the girls coming up, but I think it's going from strength to strength. I really do. So, is it just like girls in general, or is it a team that you coach?
So right now, I just do one-to-ones, like a bit on the side. Mainly because obviously I'm concentrating on my own football career. But when I was at Bromley, I done the under-16s JPL girls team, and then I done our academy girls team, who obviously that's the post-16, so 16 to 18-year-olds. So it was the under-16s feeding through to that next stage, going more into senior football. So yeah, right now I'm just doing one-to-ones. But again, like I said, I would like to get involved in the youth setup down at Millwall. I've seen the girls, obviously, they train before us on a Monday night, and the talent in the setup is something which really excites me. And it excites me to kind of pass down my knowledge now. I'm 22 years old, so it's kind of nice to still be able to relate to them in a way, but pass the knowledge on from obviously where I've grown up playing with older players and being in the setup at Crystal Palace, championship side. Being in that changing room, it just develops you so much as a person to think older than you actually were. So I love passing on my knowledge down to the girls and just basically my top tips, just go out, play your football and have fun.
That sounds good, Mia. I'm 65 years of age and I go along, watch my granddaughter and try and pass my knowledge on. She just tells me to stop embarrassing her, but never mind. Never mind. Yeah, I enjoy it anyway.
I'm sure you've got great knowledge.
Yeah, Mia, Stan here. How are you? Okay?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks, Dan. You all right?
Good. Yeah, I'm okay. Apart from a bit of a gruff voice, but that's okay. Anyway, you're off to play Haywards Heath women on Sunday at Hanbury Park Stadium, I understand. Allen Road, RH16 3PT, which is interesting. Yeah. Right. Last Sunday, your opponents, New Haven, defeated Haywards Heath just before you played them. Could it be 3 wins on the spin and the road?
100%. I think if we don't go there and come back with a result, we would be absolutely gutted. Again, like I said beforehand, we set that bar. Anything else less it's a loss to us. I mean, some teams go to away grounds and they settle for a draw and they settle for the point and they come back buzzing with it. But I think we set our standard, we set the bar, and we know what we're about now as a camp. We know what we're about as a team, individuals. So anything less than 3 points, honestly, and this is me talking, I think it's unacceptable. I think we've got the ability to win, so we need to go there and we need to bring the 3 points back. But it's going to be difficult. Of course it is. I think every fixture in this league is going to be difficult. There's not really a lot to tell the teams apart in leagues, in tier 4s and your tier 5s and your tier 3s even. There isn't much. So I think every game you really got to dig deep. But if we stick to the game plan, we've got great trust in Jack and Ted. We stick to the game plan, I'm sure we'll be all right and we'll get the 3 points.
Can I, it's just something I want to ask you just out of interest.
Yep.
Now, I'll just pick an arbitrary. I mean, how long have you been playing football in a serious way? What I mean, like in organised teams and that?
So my first senior appearance was when I was 16. I made my FA Cup debut in the quarterfinals for Brighton when I was at Crystal Palace.
I wish you'd stop saying that name, Mia.
I know, same here. I apologise. It's better than saying West Ham, though, right?
Only just.
Yeah.
Because what I was going to ask you was because when just bear with me for a moment. When the England ladies or England women won the Euros a couple of years ago, we were told then that women's football had grown substantially up to that point and would obviously, explode, if you like, as a consequence of what had happened. Now, from your own point of view, if you take the last 6 years, right, how would you say that the game today, so, and it might sound like a bit of a weird question, but does it bear any resemblance to what it was 6 years ago, or has it changed that much? In every aspect of women's football, I'm talking about.
Yeah, it's a really good question. I think everyone has their own point of view. They have their own opinion on women's football. And I think being a player in and around, obviously, a professional setup from being a kid, from being a 16-year-old, I think the game has come along so much. I couldn't say it hasn't, because I think even from an outsider who doesn't follow the female game, I think everyone can tell that. I do think the platform, me personally, I think the platform's always been there for women's football. However, I don't think it had the exposure which it does today. For example, like it was only, I think, was it last year when Sky Sports signed a deal with the WSL and started basically broadcasting all their games. That's something what you expect to be done 6 years ago, but it wasn't, but it is now. So, you know what, I think the exposure and women's football has came so far in the 6 years, like you said, but I think it can keep going further. I think there's a lot more things what obviously what we can grow as, and that comes from everyone. It comes from everyone though. Like a lot of people say, it's got to come from like the TV channel. It's got to come from like your Sky Sports, your TNTs, but it comes from the players. It comes from the youth without even knowing it, just turning up for training and like going into school and telling their friends, I've got football training tonight. It influences their mates to do it. And like, obviously me, like even in my group of mates, I'm probably the only one out of all the girls who plays football. Probably the perks of growing up with three brothers. They kind of locked me in the garden until I could do 10 kick-ups. But it's a bit like everyone's having an influence on growing the game without even knowing it. And it's one of those where everyone will have an opinion. And the thing is, it's good to have an opinion. It makes it interesting. It makes you want to fight to grow the game even more. I strongly do believe, and it's quite a bold statement, but I believe in the next 5 years it will be like America. The UK football will be like America, just as big as the men's. And look, like you guys said, you'll follow the game. You'll follow women's football. You follow men's football. And if you love football, if you are a sports person, it doesn't matter who's playing, what gender. You just want to watch a bit of sport. So I think like you said, yeah, the game's grown massively. I think the platform was always there to grow it, and it is only in the last 2 years, obviously, since we won the Euros. I think it's really pushed the game. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Okay. Yeah. No. I just, as I say, you hear all these things, and I mean, I've no doubt it was growing, but you've got a more hands-on approach to it than I have, because you're obviously there and I only ever see it at a distance. And I just wondered, just how much it had grown over the last, few years. Because I remember when they, we won the thing. There was certain people saying, it's all a bit of a flash in the pan, all that crap. And I just but that's fine. Now you've answered it. Okay, yeah, cheers.
You know what? Even when I do, so I do a bit of coaching with at Bromley, the soccer schools. I used to do quite a lot when I was a bit younger, and I guarantee if I turn up to a soccer school now, there would be just as many girls as there is boys, and that's a nice thing to see. And that means it's trickling down through the schools, and it's going through generations now, which is we didn't have 6 years ago. So maybe that is a positive new thing coming along.
Yeah. I don't doubt you for a minute, mate. Don't doubt you for a minute.
I can tell you, I've followed my granddaughter for the last year and a half, and already the amount of girls' football teams that there are now, compared to even in that short time, and Mia probably knows more than me, but back me up with it. There is an explosion going on. There's so many more girls that are playing football than there was. You know, she was saying, you said 6 years, go back there. I'm sure Mia's seen it. Like she said, you go to places and there's as many girls there as there is boys at the young age, you know, and it's even I've got younger grandchildren than my granddaughter, and within their team there's girls playing in a younger level. It is a mini explosion, probably a big explosion going on, and long may it continue because I love it.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, Ted. I agree with you, mate.
Brilliant. On that, Ted, do you want to talk to Mia about the Prediction League?
I don't think I'll show you. Don't sound like she knows anything about football, gal. I'm only joking, Mia. Of course I am. Mia, every week I have to pick 3 fixtures for the weekend, all in the championship, of course, and we have to get the guests and us on the panel and the hosts make their prediction. There is a prize at the end of it. Don't ask me what that is, but there is. But this week I've gone, obviously it's Millwall, Swansea away to Millwall. I have, for my sins, predicted a 2-1 win for the Lions, but what do you reckon, Mia?
Well, I'm going to have to say that Millwall are going to win, obviously.
Good, you're off to a good start. Well done.
Good start. No, I think Millwall will win 2-0.
2-0 to Millwall. We'll take that. Hopefully, that'd be really good. This next one, I picked out Coventry and Luton, who are disappointed, really, this season, the pair of them. I thought they would have been better than they are. I've predicted that Coventry would win 2-1, but I even watched Luton the other night. I'm not so sure now. But what do you think the score will be, Mia?
You know what? I definitely think there'll be goals. I think there'll be goals leaked at the back. So I'm going for a 2-1 to Luton.
2-1 to Luton, right. The last one I've gone for, and this is an interesting one. I mean, West Brom, who have struggled recently, home to Cardiff, who seem to have exploded since they got their first win against their beloved Lions. But and they can't seem to stop scoring goals at the moment. So what do you expect with that one, Mia?
Well, again, my close friend Ollie plays for Cardiff, so I'm going to go for the Cardiff. So,
is that Ollie Tanner, is it?
Yeah. One of my
horrible little player, isn't he? He was against us the other week, anyway. No, I thought he was very impressive.
Horrible little player. I will pass that on.
No, I'll tell you can tell him from me. I thought he was very impressive. He needs to come home because I know he's a local boy and start playing.
He's a local boy. That's it.
Yeah, that's it. I
would go. Like you said, Cardiff, they've got a bit of momentum. They're like us right now. They're like Millwall Lionesses, loving life. So I'm the new management. So I would say I'm going to go for a 1-0 Cardiff.
Come. See,
Last minute.
See, you've gone against me. So as I said, you know nothing about football, Mia, but never mind. Thank you very much for your predictions. No, actual fact, all them games, it could be either way. So we'll see how it goes. Thank you, Mia.
100%. Thank you.
Thanks, Ted. Mia, many thanks for joining us on the show. All the best to you and your family. We look forward to our other sponsor players, Jordan Butler and, how do you say it? Is it Kiara Watlin?
Kira Watlin.
Yeah. Joining us soon, as well as the other team members joining us throughout the season. We know you'll get goals for us and are passionate about getting the Lions roaring up at the top half of the league. Good luck for scoring on Saturday against Haywoods. Bye for now, Mia.
Thank you for having me, guys.
All the best, Mia.
Yeah, all the best, Mia.
Thanks, Mia. Cheers.
Bye.
If you would like to sponsor a Millwall Lioness or even become their shirt and sponsor, contact k.bennett@millwallcommunity.org.uk. I'll say that again. That's k.bennett@millwallcommunity.org.uk. We'll take a break there and listen to Bethany explain how you can support the Millwall Community Trust.
The Millwall Community Trust is something that I, Bethany Manctalo, admire for all that it does. The Trust was established in 1985 to provide sporting, educational, social and healthy lifestyle opportunities to the local community in Southwark, Lewisham, North Kent and the wider community. Its work is targeted at people of all ages, irrespective of race, gender or sexual orientation, and runs programmes aimed at tackling social exclusion, racism, knife crime, lack of employment opportunities for young people, mental health and disability. The Trust aims to be a progressive and campaigning charity that makes a difference to ordinary people's lives. Its work is undeniably essential to the local community. Donating to the Millwall Community Trust is easy. Visit their website and click on the Get Involved section. There are also sponsorship opportunities. To support this work, email commercial@millwallcommunity.org.uk. I'll say that again. That's commercial@millwallcommunity.org.uk. If you can, please help them to continue their vital work.
I'm your host, Gary Staff, and with me, I don't know one likes a talking team of Dave Hart, Ted Robinson and Stan Godwin. If you can donate, you will help our Millwall Community Trust to deliver all their programmes across all age groups to people within our community. We're looking forward to the next game, but in the meantime, here are a few matters of interest for Millwall fans and those interested in football.
Well, it looks like Christmas is on the horizon. The Millwall Football Club's annual Santa and Elf Dash is back. On the same day that the Lions welcome Coventry City to the Den on Saturday, the 7th of December, participants will assemble at the Den for a 10 a.m. start and run 4 kilometres to St Paul's Sports Ground in Rotherhithe and back, finishing with a lap of Millwall's stadium. In aid of the Millwall Community Trust, the novelty does not end there. However, as participants can run in a blue Santa suit or an elf suit, which is included in the price. And for Ted, Steve, Stan, a friend of the show, Dean Wilson, others, and hopefully Gianluca Sardi might not wish to run the entire distance, so a 2 kilometre option is also available. The entry fee for Millwall's Santa Dash is £15 for adults, including the Santa or elf suit, and £10 for juniors, including the elf suit. Don't miss out on your chance to participate in this very unique event. To register and pay, go to Eventbrite and search for Millwall Communities Trust, and you will find the Santa Dash 2024.
Next week, Bethany returns hosting Dave Hart, Miles Thornton and Henry Morgan. Be sure to tune in for more laughs, gossip and discussion before the Lions face Burnley on Sunday, November the 3rd at 3 p.m, followed by Leeds at home on the Wednesday night.
The Lionesses will make their first league trip to Haywards Heath women on Sunday at 2 p.m. at the Hanbury Park Stadium, Allen Road, RH16 3PT, with a 2 p.m. kick-off. Why not head to the game, which is easily accessed from the A23 or a 10-minute walk from Haywards Heath rail station? Can you give the Lionesses the edge with your support and help them to return where they belong? Get there and make a difference.
Don't forget, you'll be able to listen to the No One Likes Us Talking team bring reports from our games both home and away for the Lions, Lionesses, Romans and Pride, and also updates on Millwall Community Matters on Maritime Radio, broadcasting on 96.5 FM. You can also find us on Instagram, Facebook, X, formerly Twitter, YouTube, Tumblr, Instagram, and all popular podcast sites. Thank you, Dave.
Cheers, everyone.
Thank you, Ted.
Cheers, Gal.
I won't forget the 13th of October 1979. Thanks, Stan.
Yeah, well, thanks, and thanks everyone for listening.
Finally, let's keep it safe on the streets out there. Good night.
Our Millwall Fan Show is sponsored by G&M Motors of Gravesend, Honda dealers and much more. Thank you.